on this day. You can text back. You don't have to. I can actually see if you've read it. So if you don't want to know that I read it, don't read it. So the next thing, too, is kind of cool. We actually installed today a keypad for Dream Team Central. So what that means is that you guys in this room, plus anybody who couldn't make it tonight, will now have to enter 2019 when they enter Dream Team Central. That is the key code. We would like to keep that within our Dream Team. I know that's like 200 and some people, so that's not always going to be the easiest thing, but to enter that room, you have to have that code. Also, keep in mind, that room does not open until 8:30 on Sundays, so let's just be courteous and kind of the people who are in there cooking and making coffee and not go in there until 8:30. So, okay, a couple more things and then I'm almost done. So you had a couple things in your chairs tonight. One of them is the Let's Get to Know You. This is for my records. I actually am doing like a huge list of every volunteer we have at our church, which is amazing. But I don't have a lot of your information. Some of you I only talk to your wife or I only talk to your husband. So if you could all fill this out for me, if you are on a dream team, and at the end of the night, you will hand it in. We'll give you more instructions then. But if you'll fill it out, there should be some pins around you. Fill it out to the best of your ability. Your birthday is on there. I don't need the year if that's a big deal for you, but I would like the month of the day because we hope to do something in the future with that. So the other thing is this is a list of the Dream Team nights for 2019 for you guys to hold on to. So this is all already there for y'all. The celebration. Oh, can you go back to another screen? Which one? Oh, the texting screen. The number. I'm sorry. Thank you. So we even actually changed a little bit this year, and we are doing our celebration on a Friday night. That's a good thing for y'all to remember. It's going to work better all across the board for everyone. Still probably going to be the same timing. Maybe do it an hour earlier. But sometimes Friday nights tend to be a little bit better. So just keep that in mind. But those are the dates for the year. So we have one final thing for the night. Let me grab him. First time, yes. Oh, I'm so excited. But I love them. So they have actually already been brought up tonight because they are the unsung heroes of New Hope, in my opinion. They are our offensive line, I'm pretty sure is what he said. So tonight we would like to offer the Dreamer Award to, and I feel like I need a drum roll. Does anybody come in? Spanish translation. So y'all come up. Y'all come up. All of you, the whole team. Everyone. Tanya, please. Come on. So we all have bragging rights from here on out, but y'all are up in that booth faithfully, month after month, loving our community and the people that walk in our doors, and we are so thankful for you guys. We're so thankful for all that you do to just be there and be available, and we love you guys. So we hope y'all feel loved and appreciated and enjoy Dreamer for the next couple months. We'll have bragging rights on all of our teams. Thank you guys. And now, just kidding, we actually have a video that BA prepared, and it's phenomenal, so y'all enjoy this, and then Jeff will make her way up after.
We are exciting, right? You're all here, and I feel like you're all waiting for me to tell a funny story, right? It's gonna happen, hold on. Okay, so, well, I feel like I'm just gonna be a big echo tonight, which is just a wonderful thing. But we are just so thankful for you guys. We're almost on a year of relaunching what is now what we're calling you guys as Dream Team. We kind of have wavered in our communication about volunteering and that sort of thing, but we now are Dream Team, which has been super exciting. And a lot of that was just a lot of church is just building culture, right? We're building who we are and what we do and how we function, and I think relaunching it as Dream Team has been so exciting because you guys are the ministers. I think for so long, church staff has been looked at as like, it's almost like there's this differentiation in church. There's like the lay leaders and then like the ministers, when really we're all called to be ministers. Like, you're a minister, probably way more than I am, because you have your own sphere of influence where you're at. So we just love this idea of Dream Team because we're all on the team. Like, we all are making this work. Wherever you're at, wherever you're located, wherever you're serving, you're on the Dream Team. We're very thankful for you. We have a lot of things to celebrate this year because it's been awesome, right? We've had our quarterly gatherings, which have been really fun. We had our Dream Team celebration night, which was our banquet. We called it Celebration Night. How many of you like Johnny W., the comedian? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he may or may not be back for next year. I don't know. Okay. Super fun. And the purposes of these gatherings, and I think we've been talking about this, is just coming together collectively and getting together and talking through who we are and why we do what we do. Because I think sometimes we forget how important it is to be reminded of these are the qualities that we want to be as Dream Team. That's what we've been doing in these quarterly gatherings. And we had Easter this year. We had 1,538 people. Remember our cake that said 1538, and I had to take it back to Publix and all that. But that's a win. We reached out to our community. We saw over 1,500 people in this building, which is super exciting. We're hoping the same thing for Christmas, and you are a part of that. So it's really exciting. But as we've been talking in these quarterly gatherings, we've been talking about a man named Daniel, right, in the Old Testament. And we know that Daniel was an Israelite, right? And the Israels at this point, they're in Babylonian captivity. And the scripture that we've been using is Daniel 6, 1 through 3, and I'm going to read it really quick. It says, It pleased Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, one of whom was Daniel. The satraps were made accountable to them so that the king might not suffer loss. So these were basically like the governors, the mayors, the people who were ruling. Daniel was appointed to be over them. Now, Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the entire kingdom. And I love this. If you like leadership talk, Daniel is like one of my favorites when we talk about leadership. And I specifically love this. And this is what we've been talking about in Dream Team Nights, that there were a set of qualities that distinguished Daniel. And we've talked about, leadership, because you all are in leadership, right? And at the end of the day, leadership is simply influence. That's what it is. And I love this idea that, in some of the translations, the exceptional qualities was actually an excellent spirit, is what it says about Daniel. And it proves to be this thing that we've been talking about year over year. We've been talking about what are the core values of a Dream Team. Because if Daniel, if it's written that he was able to distinguish himself by exceptional qualities, that lends me to believe that I actually have the ability to also distinguish myself with exceptional qualities, right? And that's what we're looking for when we're talking about a Dream Team. We want to have qualities that are exceptional. And I think so many times, like leadership, we can look at it as if it's like a class or a curriculum, like there's something that you have to do to be a leader. And at the end of the day, leadership is incremental over time, and leadership is an inward function. It's me, distinguishing myself in ways that I'm becoming a leader. It's less about some classes that I'm taking. It's less about, all these little things that we can do to be a leader. And those things are great. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a class. I like a webinar. I love all the things. But I think sometimes we forsake the fact that leadership, at the end of the day, comes from heart change. It comes from me, choosing to be different, right? And so we talked about our 4 qualities here on our Dream Team are what? The first one, We're gonna love God. Remember, we talked about that? That's good, okay? We talked about that. We need the presence of God with us. More than any skill set that I could ever have, I need God to be with me. I need to be close to Him. The best thing that you can do is to be close to God, wherever you're at. We always talk about this here at New Hope. We love the fact that each one of you are uniquely gifted and talented. That's awesome because you bring to the table something that's fierce. But here's the deal, more than any quality or gifting that you could ever have can never be replaced with your closeness with God. And the best thing that you can do for us here at New Hope is to be close with Him, because if you are, then all the other things will happen. You will love people naturally. You will want to serve. All those things will happen. So that's our number one, right? Our number two is what? We're going to love God, and then we're going to love people. That's right. We're in the people business, right? We talked about people are messy, right? That girl told me that I was dumb for being a communications major, and we're just loving people. That's what we do. People are messy, but we're called to enter into that process, right? Okay, so I'm talking about the last three qualities, okay? So the next quality that we're talking about, our third quality here as a dream team, is that we're going to pursue excellence. Ooh, okay, excellence. I love excellence, and when I was thinking about a story to tell you, what came to my mind was, it's a very embarrassing story. This is actually one of my most embarrassing stories, but I'm going to tell you why it came to my mind, because how many of you have been around like us long enough to remember Crystal River Water Park? Okay, yeah. It was a water park off of Riverwatch Parkway, and it was amazing. And at daycare, we would hear legends of what would happen at Crystal River Water Park. Like, I remember one time, there was this slide called the cannon. It was called something about a cannon. And I remember there was this, how like when you're little, it's like people tell fables of things that had happened and like it got passed down, like, because we would go to Crystal River Water Park as a daycare. And I remember this one girl telling me that this girl got her finger snapped off in the cannon because her ring got stuck to a bolt. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have to do it. That's how we were, And so I'm telling you all about Crystal River Water Park because if you've ever been to a water park, you would never classify that as an excellent one. And I do believe that's why it was closed down, which is why I'm telling you this story. And then what I'm going to tell you actually just happened in Crystal River Water Park has nothing to do with excellence other than Crystal River Water Park was not excellent. So let me tell you about my most embarrassing story ever that's ever happened to me to this day. Probably tied with another one, but this one for sure. So I was in middle school, which, in middle school, it's all about your reputation, right? You have to be cool, okay? And so my daycare went with other daycares. I know y'all don't even know about that daycare life. It's fine. I love my daycare. In fact, I remember my mom telling me daycare's not going to continue to get you when you get to 8th grade. And I was like, I don't understand why. She's like, no, trust me, you won't want them to. And I cried, So anyways, I went to Crystal River Water Park with my daycare, and there was this ride that was it was almost like a lagoon situation where you would get in a donut-shaped float, right? And you would get in and you would go into a lazy river situation. You just float for a little bit. And the current would take you down into another pool, and then you would kind of float a little bit, and the current would take you down to another pool. So, the fun was that, there were clusters of people together, and you would get stuck in the currents and all that kind of stuff. I mean, on the scale of what is scary, this was nothing. And so, the very end, you go down another current and it shoots you out to the big pool and you get out. That's when you get your float and get out. Well, I was with my friends. I was having a really good time. We were laughing, cutting up, and the first one, we were good, down the current. Second one, pool, good, down the current. Third one, cool. We're about to go into the place where the ride is over and you get your float. And so I got lost from my friends because there was there was a situation happening where it was very congested. And so I had turned around, my float had turned around, and I went down backwards. And the last current really shot you out, because they were trying to get you out of the ride. And when I did, for whatever reason, I went under because there was a lot of people. and my float was on top of me, and I remember screaming. I mean, I was like flailing my arms, like I was like, I'm drowning, this is how I'm gonna go at Christopher Water Park in front of all my friends. Because at this point, mind you, this last ride, when you would get out, all the people would be standing there waiting on their friends, so everybody's like looking at you, like trying to get out, which is horrible if you're in middle school. And so I was under my float trap, trying to get out, I was flailing, and I heard my friend go, Jessica, just stand up. And I was like, how do I get out? I was like, I'm gonna drown. Like, you know, life flashes before your eyes, like this is it, this is how I'm gonna go. I'm only in 7th grade, like, wow, what a life. And I'm literally playing, and I keep hearing them like, just stand up. And here comes the lifeguard, because I can feel it happening. And he kind of rips me up, and when I stand up, literally the water is to my knees. It's fine. I almost drowned in knee-high water, but it's okay, it's fine. All that to say, Christopher Water Park was not excellent. Well, we should be excellent, right? We need to pursue excellence. And, you know, I think sometimes, like, okay, so I hope you know my heart when we've been talking about this. I hope you in no way think that I'm like, you don't do this. The beautiful thing about New Hopers and our dream team here is that you guys, you are this. This is just us. We're building culture, right? We're going to talk about who we are and the qualities, because it's good to be reminded, like, this is who we are and this is what we do. This is why we do it, right? So I love the quality of excellence, because I don't think we talk about it enough in church. Somehow excellence doesn't seem as spiritual. I beg to differ, because when I think about God, I think of like, there are all these facets of Him, right? One of the greatest facets of God is there is a reverence to Him, and there's an honor that is due Him. I mean, read the Old Testament, okay? There's some weird stuff that happened up in there, you know, when they weren't. And like, I think like we don't really think about that, but it's such a powerful thing. And if you read the Old Testament, even when they were building the tabernacle, there was order to it. Like, God said, this is how you're going to do it. And God's presence did not dwell in it until there was order. So that lends me to believe that God cares about order, and He cares about excellence. And in fact, Jesus, in Mark 7:37, it says, people were overwhelmed with amazement. And they said, this is about Jesus, He has done everything well, they said. He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. So Jesus He did things well. And I think the first point here that I'm going to make is, number one, is that excellence is attractive to people. Like, an excellent environment and people who do things with excellence, it is attractive to people. You know, I was a communications major. I know I couldn't go biology route, but I did it. And, you know, in communications, some of the classes that we had to take were marketing classes. And those were never quite my favorite, even though I ended up going to that field anyways, a little bit with experience. But, you know, in marketing, they talk about the best way to grow a business is through repeat customers, right? And so, which lends to the question of like, what makes people want to repeat your business? And they found that the number one need for people to repeat a business is to feel comfortable there, which is very interesting. So then that begs the other question is, then what creates comfort for people? And I think we don't think about this, but excellence creates comfort for people to want to come back. When things feel excellent and good and like they've taken care of like the facility, that things look nice, that people know what they're doing, that they're showing up on time, that they know their job, they're doing it well, that, you know, things begin and end well, and the lights and the tech and all that, like all of that stuff, that lends to a feeling of excellence. And you know what's interesting about excellence? You don't know about excellence until you experience the other. When a place is excellent, you don't quite think about it because it feels good to be there. I don't know about you, but you can think about stores. How many of you know about stores that when you walk into them, it makes you feel like I'm going to hyperventilate? There are lots of stores that make me feel like that. Then there are other stores who are like, oh, the shopping experience is really nice. They know what they're doing. It's also why you like to go to Disney World, and you would rather go to Disney World over Crystal River Water Park. It's because Disney provides an atmosphere that is excellent. I mean, have you ever gone there? I don't even know if I've ever seen a worker there. I think they hide behind bushes and trees and in the trash cans because it's like unreal. And they talk to you and act as if they've known you forever. And these people don't know me, you know, but they have created a culture where excellence is a priority. And I think, you know, our environment matters, and because everything we do is unto the Lord. If we really believe that when we serve, when we come in here as Dream Team, and whatever environment it is that you're in, that you're serving, if we really do believe, like, I do it as unto the Lord, then man, I want to bring my most excellent to Him, right? That's what I would want to do. I mean, in the Old Testament, they were to bring spotless animals. There was to be nothing there. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There is a level of excellence. And so, number 2, the second point is, so whatever you do it well. Whatever environment that you're in, if you're touching it, do it well. I mean, if that means you're going to make coffee, you make the best coffee you know how, and you wipe all the edges, and you do all the things, because people recognize that. And, you know, part of the reason why we're talking about these qualities, too, is because, you know, here at New Hope, we're a very evangelistic community. I mean, we're all about invitation and outreach. And I think, like, when we're talking about, even for Christmas, you know, we had 3,500 invitations go out for our Christmas service. And that won't be the end of it, because, you know, we're partnering with some local businesses not this week, but next week, where we're going to be buying coffee for people and inviting them in our own community, in our own backyard. And there is something that's beautiful when you invite someone over to your home and it feels like there's excellence. Because if you're hosting a dinner party for someone, you're not throwing stuff together. You're making sure it looks nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got all the things out, and you're bringing out the dishes that you normally don't use, and all the things, you know? And that's what we're doing. We're setting the tone for people to experience God. And whether or not you know that, like, people are coming in, like, when they experience excellence, they're seeing God in that way, you know? So whatever you do it well. And number 3, do things before they're asked. Initiative is awesome. We should all be Dream Teamers who take initiative. That, you know, we're owning our environments. If there's paper in my environment, I'm going to pick it up. If there's, you know, stuff that needs to be done, I'm going to do it. Because that's just part of being excellent. And the 4th thing is to do more than what's expected of you. Jesus laid this out when he taught about 2-mile living. When somebody asks you for a coat, give it to them. Give them everything. You know, Jesus gave us this example of 2-mile living. Now, that's how we should be living. Third one was pursue excellence. This is what we're going to do. The last one's going to be really quick, because I want to eat a hamburger and hot dog too. We're going to choose joy. Ooh, that one's a hard one. It's not because it's beautiful. That's often sometimes really hard. And really, when we're talking about choosing joy, it's all about our attitudes. I mean, that's really what it is. And you know, attitude matters so much. And it's really the X factor, because you can have all the things, but if nobody's nice, then it really kind of doesn't matter, right? It's all the things, because, and this is the thing, this is why all these qualities go together, because here's the deal, okay? So, for instance, like, people coming in for Christmas, if I'm loving God, like, I am in tune with Him, I'm developing closeness with Him, then that means that I'm learning from Him and I'm becoming more like Him, which makes a lot of these things, like, more easy to do, because He lives in us, right? And He's our strength and our weakness, right? And then, like, I know that I'm going to love people. So I already know people are coming in, and, like, I want to love people. Like, I'm going to serve them. Whatever environment I'm in, I'm going to do it with excellence. And then I'm going to have an awesome attitude while I do it. And all those things are setting the tone every time we serve people to experience Jesus. Because that's, at the end of the day, what we want. Anytime we come into this place, we want people to experience Him, right? And so, the best example is Paul. You know, like, Paul had a great attitude. You know, they were like, we're going to send you to jail. And he's like, do it. I'm going to witness to the jailers when we're there, and write some other letters to churches. And they're like, well, then we're going to kill you. And he's like, do it. I'll be with God. It's awesome. And if I live, like, great, I'm going to evangelize. Like, the attitude of Paul is so awesome, because he was like, in everything that he chose joy. And I'm going to read you a scripture. It's in 2 Corinthians. It's 6. I'm going to start in 4. It says, this is Paul. Rather, as servants of God, we commend ourselves in every way, in great endurance, in troubles, hardships, and distresses, in beatings, and imprisonment, in riots, and hard work, sleepless nights, and hunger, in purity, understanding, patience, and kindness, in the Holy Spirit, and in sincere love, in truthful speech, and in the power of God, with weapons of righteousness in the right hand and in the left, through glory and dishonor, bad reports and good reports, genuine yet regarded as impostors, known yet regarded as unknown, dying and yet we live on, beaten and yet not killed, sorrowful yet always rejoicing, poor yet making many rich, having nothing and yet possessing everything. That was Paul's attitude. And it was such an attitude of joy. And, it's funny because, attitude, and, we all are in work environments, right? Attitude will take you places that skill sets can never take you. when you're in a work environment, who do you like to be around? You like to be around the people who are really like nice and fun to be around. It's never the people who aren't, right? And so here are a couple of points. Because attitude is most important when we don't feel like it, which is always when it's hard. It's always harder to choose joy when I don't feel like it than it is, when things are great. But the first point is, be enjoyable. So take responsibility of the atmosphere that you're in. So when you come in, wherever you're serving, whatever that atmosphere is like when you enter it, you take ownership of it and you be what that environment needs. So oftentimes, I like to do this with awkward humor. That's how I kind of own my environments. But you know what I'm saying? That's what we're saying. Like, just come in and be nice. Like, love on people. It actually will change the environment. It really will. And because, here's the deal. On any given Sunday, we're talking about Christmas. I handed out all these invites. Coming on Christmas, there are lots of different stories that are going to be represented here. There are going to be people who are very far from God, who are living in brokenness. Maybe they've experienced divorce or death, or maybe they're really searching and asking, like, where has God been in some really difficult circumstances? Or maybe they've had a loss, like with a child or a parent, or maybe they're just like, they're having financial problems. Whatever it is, they feel like they're in utter hopelessness. Do you know what it's like to come in to an environment where people are just nice and they're joyful? It actually speaks of the God that we serve. When my response is joy, and when my response is like, greeting people and being even sometimes how I don't even feel. And sometimes I know it can feel fake. But it's so funny because even as we do that, like, it's really lending to who God is. Like, we're just showing him off, like, this is who he is. Like, we want you to come and experience it. So it's really attractive. And the second point there would be to be positive. Think solutions versus problems. Like, hey, if you see a need or an area where it's like, oh, I don't, like, you see like a gap in some way, hey, be solution thinkers. Come to us and tell us, like, hey, have y'all ever thought about doing it this way? We love that. Because here's the deal, y'all are in environments sometimes that we aren't in, and you are in such the minute details of it, like, that it helps us when you're like, hey, have y'all ever thought about doing it this way? We love stuff like that. So, okay, let's say them. 4 qualities. What are we about? We're about what? Number 1, we're gonna love God. Yeah, we're gonna love God. Number 2, we're going to love people because they're awesome. And number 3, we're gonna pursue excellence. That's right, we're gonna be excellent in what we do. And the 4th one is what? We're going to choose joy. We're going to be really joyful people, right? Well, we just love you guys. Like, I'm so thankful for these quarterly gatherings. They have been awesome. We're going to do them again next year. Next year, they'll have a different flavor because we just always are trying to spice things up for you guys. But we always want to make sure that we are building a culture like this is who we are as Dream Team, right? We're very, very thankful for you. The holiday season, Christmas season here at New Hope is going to be very special because we are praying and we are believing that people who are far from God are going to come to know him. And there is nothing more beautiful in the Christmas season to see that. Because I love, Joy was saying this other day and I love it. She was saying, like, we celebrate a baby that's been born, but it's because we know what he does for us, right? It's not just the birth of him. It's because we know what eventually is going to happen. And in him, there is new life for people, and we're very excited, and we're so thankful to have you. You're all going to play a part in that. It's just wonderful, and we love you. Well, and that's it, except for Katie's going to come back and do one more thing, and then you're going to have hamburgers and hot dogs, and we just really love you guys, and we're just so thankful for you, and I'm going to turn it over to her.